Hello everybody and welcome back to Blast Away the Game Review. I am your host, Dustin Murphy. Today we are taking a look at the newest Warframe in the game, Revenant. To get things started, we're not going to be doing a bunch of filler. Instead, we're dropping straight into the mess of things. First, we're going to take a look at his ability called Enthrall, which allows him to convert a target into a zealous thrall. Thralls turn on their allies and enthrall them through damage. On death, they disintegrate into a damaging pillar of energy. The Thrall Horde remains under Revenant's spell until this ability runs out. His second ability is actually called Mesmer Skin. This Mesmer Skin allows Revenant to become enveloped in sentient energy, which then redirects damage and stuns all those who dare to attack him. Stunned enemies can now be enthralled at no energy cost, meaning it works great, and it is an ability that synergizes with another ability of his, which we'll talk about here shortly. His next ability is called Reeve, which allows him to dash through enemies and regenerate his health. Because of this, he does leech both shields and health, making him a suitable tank and about as powerful as other Warframes like him. Now, we're not going to talk about his ultimate ability just yet. Instead, we're going to talk about using the first three, and then the fourth is actually going to have a segment all on its own due to how unique this ability is. So first up, as you can see on screen, I have used Enthrall on several targets already. Two of the targets have already attacked other targets, which is actually increasing the amount of thralls I have running around. As you saw, time is of the essence, so modding him for time is a big thing. You want to definitely make sure he has a lot of duration. Duration allows him to have more thralls, which in turn allows him to control the map a lot better than he would without having as many enthralled minions. Now, you may notice these little spires coming up out of the ground. Those are caused by the thralls that died. Remember, it said they leave an energy trail which does damage. Here you go. This is that spire that can do a lot of damage, especially if you have a lot of them in a single area. This makes them extremely important, especially if you're trying to control a map. Second up, if you remember, is the ability I mentioned called Mesmer Skin, which is where he hardens himself, redirects damage to those who have attacked him, and in turn stuns them, allowing him to enthrall those who have hit him at no energy cost. This means you want to ensure, if you have Mesmer Skin unlocked, make sure that it's the first ability you use, because the moment somebody hits you, hit them with Enthrall, and voila, you have control of a unknown amount of targets as the targets attack each other. So you could have quite a few minions out there. As much as I've had is 6 to 7 at one time. Now, I don't know if that was a bug, but I have had 6 to 7 minions at a single time. This does mean you need to pay attention to your teammates and their placement. They can kill those that you have enthralled. This does mean that it is problematic and unfortunately leaves Revenant's thralls at the discretion of you and your team. So you kill them, you'll just have to enthrall more. Just make sure when you enthrall that you've used Mesmer Skin, mostly since Mesmer Skin allows 1, a stun, and 2, it allows you to enthrall at no cost of energy, meaning you get to do it completely free of charge, allowing you to better use your energy that you have available to you. Next up is his ability Reeve. If you remember right, Reeve is the one that I mentioned where he dashes forward, strips his enemies of their shield and their health, allowing him to leech himself back to a suitable state. Now, this ability does have a decent use outside of just leeching. You can use it to get out of large groups of enemies and not get blocked. So it's a really good ability to have readily available if you need it. This does mean, however, he is a bit squishier than other Warframes of his type. As you can see, I went ahead and I've been enthralling to I've made sure I've had my enthrallment out. I've made sure I have my Mesmer Skin up, and ultimately I let my health drop just a little bit, not a lot, just enough to give you an idea of how much health he can regenerate and how quickly Revenant can regenerate his health. Now, I am going to take a little more damage here. I'm not going to pop Mesmer Skin. I'm not going to enthrall anything. Instead, I'm going to let them actually do a decent amount of damage there for a second, and then Mesmer Skin, so that I can ensure that I don't die, that anybody that does attack me is stunned temporarily for those 7 charges I have, and then just take them out. There's no reason at this point for me to enthrall them. I don't need the thralls at the moment for this tutorial, so I'm just going to go ahead and burn the enemies and just give you an idea of how well he can control the ebb and flow of combat himself and regenerate himself. Now, we are going to talk about his 4th ability in extent, especially since this has 2 different variations of itself. Danse Macabre allows him to erupt with a multitude of Eidolon energy beams and sweep a circle of death around himself. The beams will modify their damage type to target select defenses, while incoming damage is redirected back into the beams. Hold your fire button to boost status effects and damage at the cost of increased energy consumption. Thralls killed by this leave over shield pickups. So as you can see here, let alone does it have a single use, it is a multi-use ability. Right here, you're just seeing the standard Danse Macabre. This means I'm not boosting it, I'm not doing anything of that sort, and I'm going to pull the ability screen up one more time so that you can actually get a chance to read the full description and get an idea of what Danse Macabre does. Now, Danse Macabre is one of those, use it at your discretion. It does consume a lot of energy, so energy efficiency is going to be of the utmost importance, especially if you use Danse Macabre a lot or plan to use it quite a bit. Its energy drain does go by very quickly, and even with my own build, I noticed I've been having some energy issues, which means I'm going to have to tweak him and ensure that those energy issues are no longer existent. But now that you have an idea of what Danse Macabre is going to cost you, how much damage it's going to do, let's take a peek at the boosted version of Danse Macabre. As you see here, I'm holding down my right trigger, so my beams are a lot thicker, he's moving a lot quicker, but also my energy cost is substantially higher. I mean, it is not just a 1 or 2 energy difference, it is much higher, but my damage is much higher in turn, which means I can also redirect more of the incoming damage through those beams and do a lot more damage using his Eidolon based abilities, or Eidolon, whichever you prefer to say. Now, how good is Revenant in the terms of being a Vanguard style Warframe? The answer is simple. He is extremely good at what he does. He's a control type Vanguard with the ability to do an insane amount of damage and do it rather quickly. There is no need for him to suit up and become this walking tank, especially since he's got all this control on his side. He's got the Mesmer armor to redirect damage, he's got the thralls to control the ebb and flow of combat, he's got his reeve to regenerate his health and shields, he's also able to get in and out of combat using reeve, so he has a plethora of utilities at his disposal. And then toss Danse Macabre in the mix, and you're really not going to have a hard time going down, or even have to really worry about going down, as long as you learn how to combo his abilities, when to and when not to use them, and just to learn how to control all of your timing with him. But folks, that is all we have for today. I do want to thank all of you for tuning in for this guide of Revenant. I do hope it helps you out. If you have any questions about him, please let me know down in the comments below, and I will get to you as quickly as possible. Thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow with our tutorial for Mesa.